My name's Charlie Robinson. I'm the author of The Octopus of Global Control, and this is Death by Astonishment. If you're trying to control a group of people, there's two ways to do it. Control what they can do and control what they cannot do. But one other aspect, that if you're in the controlling group, you do not want somebody else to come in and educate the people that you're trying to control. You don't want them to have knowledge about something else, something that removes the controller's power. One of those things happens to be our consciousness. One of the first things you do is you would try to convince everybody that consciousness is of no importance. Yes, you're awake, and that's great, but that's about the extent of it. There's nothing really that important about that. Well, if you've ever done a hallucinogen, you will understand that there is another world out there. And I don't mean that in I got hammered at the at a nightclub, throw up in the parking lot, and I was out of my mind. I mean there is a spiritual world. There is another place that your mind, your soul, your consciousness can go. They don't want you to know about that. That is very important that you not understand that, because once you understand that, you realize the most important lesson of all: nobody's in control. They're certainly not in control. We don't even understand that world. You can listen to guys like Terence Mckenna. If you're not familiar with Terence Mckenna, go find some YouTube videos. This guy's hilarious and informative and strange and brilliant, all wrapped up into one. Let's see what Terence has to say about this. Psychedelics are illegal not because a loving government is concerned that you may jump out of a third-story window. Psychedelics are illegal because they dissolve opinion structures and culturally laid down models of behavior and information processing. They open you up to the possibility that everything you know is wrong. Okay, it can sound arrogant and annoying to hear someone suggest that perhaps everything that we know is wrong, but the cold facts are that we really don't know that much about the way the universe works. Of course, we think we have it all figured out, but you really only need to invest an evening in a bag of mushrooms or ayahuasca, and it will become very clear and not up for debate that there is another world. There is another dimension. There is another place, an alternate world. It can never be forgotten. Once you go there, you might even get the overwhelming feeling that you've been there before. There's a sense of recognition. It's like very familiar. You can't quite put your finger on it, but you know that where you are is an important place. So Terence goes on to say, part of what psychedelics do is they decondition you from cultural values. This is what makes it such a political hot potato. Since all culture is kind of a con game, the most dangerous candy you can hand out is one which causes people to start questioning the rules of the game. Yeah, exactly. That's why hallucinogens are Schedule 1 and illegal, and I don't know why crack cocaine is a Schedule 2 drug, but I think maybe because if you smoke a bunch of crack, you're not going to figure out the secrets of the universe. You're probably just going to go rob a liquor store. So the people in power have tried very hard and been very effective with marginalizing anyone that goes down the path of investigating psychedelics. So if you want to find somebody that maybe you have a little bit of respect for and hear their thoughts on it, what do you think about Steve Jobs? Founder of Apple, also was the owner of Pixar. This is his quote: "Taking LSD was a profound experience, one of the most important things in my life. LSD shows you that there's another side to the coin, and you can't remember it when it wears off, but you know it. It reinforces my sense of what was important. Creating great things instead of making money. Putting things back in the stream of history and of human consciousness as much as I could." Well, it's funny because you don't hear that as one of the side effects of LSD. What you hear is you're going to jump out of a window and you're going to go nuts like Sid Barrett and you're going to wind up in a mental institution. That's not always the case. Yes, that could happen, and by all means, be very careful with these. These are not to be messed around with. Have some respect for these very amazing and important and potentially dangerous substances. Come at it from the angle of being respectful of it. This is not a party drug. You do not do LSD and go to a party. You do not do DMT and go hang out in a nightclub. That is incongruent. You would not be doing that. But maybe you think Steve Jobs was a dick and you like Sting. Here's what Sting had to say about his ayahuasca. Wired to the entire cosmos, it is a direct access to the Godhead. There is definitely a higher intelligence at work. Well, Terence Mckenna has approached the subject of DMT, dimethyltryptamine, in a different way. You should watch the documentary DMT, the Spirit Molecule. Does a very good job of explaining this in great detail. DMT is a reliable method for crossing into a dimension that human beings have debated the existence of for 50,000 years. Is there an invisible nearby world inhabited by active intelligences with which human beings can communicate? You bet. And if you don't think so, then tell me you don't think so after you've smoked 75 milligrams of DMT. Otherwise, we just don't have anything to talk about. So, Terence McKenna he advocated paths of shamanism, the use of plant-based psychedelics. He was an ethnobotanist, so he was very much into going down this path. So, but if you want to simplify it, the great Joe Rogan has boiled it down to this, which I think is brilliant. DMT is mushrooms times 1,000,000 plus aliens. So if you're wondering where the aliens comes into play in this, Terence McKenna has an interesting take on this. He says, what happens on DMT is a troop of elves smashes down your front door and rotates and balances the wheels of the after-death vehicle, present you with the bill, then depart. It's completely paradigm-shattering. I mean, union with the white light you could handle. An invasion of your apartment by jeweled, self-dribbling basketballs from hyperspace that are speaking in Demotic Greek is not something you anticipated and could handle. Sometimes people say, is DMT dangerous? It sounds so crazy. The answer is, only if you fear death by astonishment. The point of this is that the hallucinogens that are illegal for a reason that is not what you think it is. Graham Hancock is an author. He wrote Fingerprints of the Gods. It's one of the greatest books ever written. It was written in, I think, 1995. He says, I think it's obvious that the psychedelics are demonized and illegalized by our society because somewhere in our society are controlling minds that realize that these substances have the potential, have the power to unpick the controlling hierarchy. Well, if you look at it that way, you can understand clearly why they would want them illegal and not part of the discussion.